Okay, and we're live. Hello, everybody. I wanted to bring you here today to talk about Superman and hopecore and kind of the conversation that I've seen happening online about this movie and the audacity of its optimism. I've been feeling some kind of way after seeing this movie, and I think, like, upfront, I should say, big fan of Lois Lane. As a journalist, I just really appreciate what she's about. She's one of my all-time favorite characters, and I felt like they did a very good job. I was happy with the casting. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. And just like in a general sense, I really liked the movie itself. I thought it was a fun superhero romp. This is a genre that, like, I love. It's important to me. It's meaningful to me. I like rush out and see these movies on purpose because I love them. So that's also something I should say. I love James Gunn. Like, I think he really has a good idea almost every time. Like, he seems to understand the medium in a way that I understand the medium. Like, I really just think we're on the same page, which is that it's in general supposed to be sort of like joyful and leave you feeling hopeful and kind of positive and optimistic at the end of the trials and tribulations of the story. Um, Furthermore, he just has the sense of humor throughout the delivery of the story that, like, I really appreciate because, again, it's very positive. It's very optimistic. He's really keeping this up feeling. And this Superman was really no exception. There's so much great Superman lore, and there's so many discussions of who's the best Superman. I don't really think that's important to get into, to be honest. I think that's mostly like clickbait, nothing, because it literally doesn't matter. And here's why. I think no, this is correct. You can take this one to the bank. The Superman that we have is the Superman that we have for our time. So the people who made this movie, it is a direct representation of what is going on in the world right now. And you can see that if you go back through the Supersman and you see who directed it, what the style is, what the outcomes were, did people like it, etc. And it's a reflection of the time that it comes out in. Superman is, for Hollywood especially, a really important touch point that they go back to a lot, because it has been in the pop culture consciousness for a very long time, even prior to that. There were television shows, and the comics are, like, as far as like the modern culture era, they're legendary. So it makes sense that we're getting these again. People are often like, oh, we have seen all of these remakes, but like comic book characters like Superman, Spider-Man, and Batman have been done and will be done to death forever. So enjoy. Um, you know, take a second to appreciate when you get to see anybody else. But I really think that this is a great Superman for our time. And it could have gone in a very different direction. And I, to be clear, have not seen the Man of Steel movies, but I have no interest because it looked like one of those dour, dim, dull, dark, dastardly situations. um, where it was like, I don't, I'm going to subvert the superhero genre. I love the superhero genre. I love a superhero. I love a guy in a stupid outfit doing acrobatics, tricks, etc. because he's like got skills, special powers. I love the superhero genre. And Superman's like the superhero genre. So they did a really good job bringing all that to the table. He's wearing the bright suit. He's wearing the silly little trunks, which I loved. And just even in some of those small details and decisions, it was just so lovingly crafted. Um, that almost helped to like layer on another layer of this positivity on top of the actual story and the way it was being told. So I don't want to give like away specifics, but what I really loved about this Superman is that it is directly parallel and discussing things that are like happening in our world today. And it's not like thinly veiled. You'd have to be very dumb not to understand what's happening. But there are so many instances in which the good guys like get to make a choice because they have Superman on their side. Currently I feel like in the world we don't really have like a guy. We have a lot of people, who are doing awesome things. But we don't have, sometimes it's nice to have like a figurehead, someone to rally around. And that's what Superman is for Earth, whatever that he lives on. He's like stopping wars and stuff, things that we would love to see. It's really like the fantasy, which I loved. It was a super positive, fantastical version of this story. And it was very pro journalism, which I loved. The Lois Lane portrayal was great. And everybody who was contributing to the downfall of evil in this story was like really different and interesting. And it was people ranging from like a man who owns like a sandwich shop or something like that to, the editor of the paper, showing kind of everyone contributes, everyone can do their part. It's really just like showing scale in a really nice way of how important each individual person is. And to Superman, like a lot of the subplot is about rescuing a dog, which of course we all love. But he also in the film like rescues a bunch of abused monkeys. He rescues a squirrel in one scene that I guess apparently James Gunn was asked to cut, and he was like, I cannot part with the squirrel scene, which is something I love about Gunn's writing, is that he always shows how important each individual living creature is on the earth. No matter how weird or gross or small or like human or non-human, significant or otherwise, it doesn't really matter, right? Like what your view of it is, because in Superman's eyes and in James Gunn's writing, everybody matters. It's so lovely. It's just a nice thing. And like, it's also saying it out loud. There's nothing about the script and the dialogue that isn't like really hitting it on the head. Which honestly I think is great, because if we're going to make a movie for the masses, then we need to swing and like connect here at this point. No more missing in our mass media, folks. We don't have that many opportunities to gather people and say, hey, more on that later. I've been feeling part two. Part two, I've been feeling bad about fandom for a while now. I think for a lot of reasons, like the revelations that some of the creators of the things that have been very, very, very dear to me, like way more than I should admit on the internet dear to me, have turned out to be people that I don't want to associate with, that I don't want to give money to, that I don't want to support or be in league with. I mean, there's countless. I could name drop, but I don't want to do that. And I think if you don't know who I'm talking about, send me a message and I'll give you a list. But all of these people who have created these things, these fantastical spaces, these escape routes, from reality, for me, kind of in real time, we're discovering that they are not really living the values of the storytelling that they have been cashing in on for decades now. Okay, yeah, that feels like a judicious way to say that. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing for me, because I just think that you do really have a stewardship when you have an audience. I mean, I think we're all very responsible for each other in general. But when you have an audience, when you have a mass audience, you need to be careful. You need to just like you need to be a good person. You need to care about being a good person, especially in the nerd community. This is what Superman is like doing well. It's really representing the nerds. It's San Diego Comic-Con right now, which is like a magical place and a great memory for me. And I just love a con in general. I love Comic-Cons. I don't think there's anything like it on Earth. I don't think that, I mean, I don't know how I got so lucky to live in the era of Comic-Cons. I really just think we're very lucky, you guys. Because like fandom has been able to go mainstream enough, that those spaces are like really fun and welcoming in my experience. And I I started doing that when I was a young woman and going into like comic book stores and being welcomed and taught things and going to cons and not recognizing or recognizing cosplays and having an equal amount of fun, like whether or not you were invited to, or whether or not like all the ins and outs. It's just like it's a cool group. Anyway, my first San Diego Comic Con was like dreamy, ridiculous. That like I'll literally never, ever have an experience like that again. And now when I think about it, I think, oh man, I saw some of my all-time heroes, like people whose stories had like gotten me through stuff, like adolescence, things that were hard. And the whole memory is tainted a little bit because of things that have been like sort of revealed. Fandom people, nerd people, geek people, however we're identifying these days, guys. I always said fangirl, but now I'm like really trying to move into woman territory. Like I'm gonna be a mom someday, I hope. And I don't want her to be like, that's my mom, the fangirl. Anyway. I just feel bad a little bit because we're very sweet and soft people. We really love good to win, generally speaking. We're very trusting. We're very like, we're just like living a little bit, not 100% in reality. Okay. Okay. Which I think you should all join us more later. And the disappointment is like devastating because all these stories are so empowering for people who feel othered, who feel weird, who feel nerdy, who feel like they don't belong or fit in the normal world. And then they find out that like the person who created it isn't perpetuating that in the world. They're not actually the good guy. That's devastating, dude. And it's been happening a lot. So anyway, it's good to get a win. And like, obviously, I've been enjoying other spaces while we've had sort of the commercialization of places that I used to like really hang out in a lot. Like even Lord of the Rings, I don't really like engage with all of the the new content. There's just a lot that's coming out that I don't connect with on the same level. It feels more cynical to me. It feels a little bit less like people who really want to tell a certain story are doing that, and way more like, hey, how can we fit this canon into a story? Which is just, I think, first of all, it's not everyone's forte. And then secondly, it's just, I don't want everything in my life to be coming down one pipeline. I don't want one point of view to be the only one that I listen to. That's crazy extremist behavior. That's how you get where we are today. So, I've been just feeling like a little homeless with fandom. Like there's all this chaos going on. I've had to like make disavowals of things, and also in my own heart, like have these really tough conversations about like art versus artist, which I'm not prepared to have that conversation with you today. But I really feel like the conclusion that I've kind of come to is just like, do it quietly and by yourself, which like is so sad because as I mentioned, I like love Comic-Con. I'm not a believer. Here's controversy for you because we are literally on the internet, but I don't really believe that the fan spaces are like good anymore on the internet. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Like we used to just be there to be like, woohoo. And that's sort of like where the fangirl term like comes from. It's like, it's very twee, but it's from the era of like just being really positive. Like, wow, my ship kissed, and that was like a big day. It just felt like a lot more innocent, and like the quality was honestly kind of worse in some of those like big fandoms. I'm talking like Tumblr days for those who are, well, I don't know. I don't know how old anyone is ever. I barely know how old I am. But it just felt like a very innocent time. And now it feels like fandoms online are like only there to do gotchas, which is cute, but isn't very positive. It's not very fun. Like all I'm seeing is like, oh, the quality drop and like acting judgment and oh, they totally did this character dirty or did them wrong. There's so much assumption and so much judgment from like fandom that they know better and know what they're doing that it's like barely fun to be in some of those spaces anymore. Um, that's just a fact. Like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to nitpick. I want to enjoy myself because I can take this as seriously as I need to, which is like, it's fun and it's good and it's an escape. And I can like even get like really, really, really excited and involved in it. But at the end of the day, like fiction versus reality. So I just, I really feel like, and not making a prediction here about Superman and like what it may or may not do for the culture. I'm not saying it's a tide shift, but James Gunn is the head of DC. So he has a lot of control. He has a lot of power. And I say go for it. I say hopecore us in the face till we die. Like I just don't think there is any net negative from going to a place to be in an environment where fantasy is realized and it's like so uplifting. It's so positive about like the actual world and real humanity. I really can't see like a downside of that. And cynics in 10 years will say like whatever. Whenever we're rethinking eras in the modern day, we're like, oh my gosh, we broke it by doing like we swung too far in this direction. But we're actually just analyzing it like still with a pretty close lens. So anyway, guys, follow, keep up. The Superman videos that I've been seeing, which is like kind of why I wanted to get on here and start chatting, really have impacted me. Like I've been a little teary about some of them. And I'm not talking about their press tour, which is like genius. And I would love to give a whole other seminar on how much I can't believe that press tour. But I'm talking just like fan edits, the good stuff, the things that are coming out of the experience, like from the brains of the people who are inspired by it. They're so sweet. They're so happy and positive, and everyone's like inspired to like help their neighbor. It's so nice. In a time where like we have been so at each other, and I think rightfully so, but also not every time. It's nice to have something to like unite about on like one side of an issue because when it comes to Superman, like just for the audience at home, like it is not a woke film. You may have seen some headlines about that or something like that. It's simply a film that posits that all humanity has value. So if you disagree with that, that's between you and your God. I think the reason that I love to talk about this stuff and why I even think about it in the first place and like do decide to share is because I am number one concerned and number two very passionate about the fact that I believe this stuff is important. And I'm not talking like everybody needs to see Superman. I actually think when people say everyone needs to see something, it's really condescending. Like, you don't know anything about me. You decide what you need to see. I needed to see Superman because I needed to remind myself like why I love being a fan. I needed to remind myself what that does to galvanize me and how I show up in the world as a person who's been inspired for many years by like positive good guys win storytelling. And that hasn't felt cool lately. And like I'm very conscious and self-conscious of like being cool. But I got married last summer. Thank you. Thank you. It was the best. My coolest friend who like I've been friends with forever, who I've always felt like was cool and I was less so. You know how you create those? She came to my bachelorette party. Like I'm cool. I'm cool when I need to be. Sorry, I'm justifying this. Okay. Anyway, don't cool tier yourself. But as I have been like saying, I was big time nerd behavior. Like, and all my friends grew out of it. Like, I remember we all went to X-Men in 8th grade, and then all of a sudden that wasn't fun by the time we got to high school. And I was like, oh no. The boys at least would hang out and like talk about and like LARP Lord of the Rings. Thank you. This stuff is important though. And like, there's sort of this, I almost called it a movement. Yuck. Don't make it a movement. There's a habit, a bad habit that's being encouraged by like other new media to really fracture even further the attentions of younger folks. They're not interested in plot-based media, according to a video I saw. They're not interested in watching storytelling and watching things unfold. I've heard excuses all over the place from people like in their 20s and younger about how it doesn't hold their attention, or like, what's the point? It's predictable. They already know what's going to happen. There's so many reasons, varied reasons that I've heard for just disengaging from kind of like a whole medium or several that have me just feeling like really sad. And, you know, to name check Harry Potter, the most controversial thing sort of in my life, in my past, you can go to the channel. There's a lot to say about that, but it got kids reading. It got people involved in something. It got us excited in like this really unifying manner. And like Twilight was able to do that for the girlies, but Harry Potter did it for the world. Like, it was so unifying. That is just a comment that I'm making. I really wish that we could have something else like that that would bring people back, like youngish people back to storytelling. And I think they're cynical because, yeah, some of the Marvel movies do look really repetitive. And like some of the Star Wars stuff is Byzantine at this point, and you have to know too much. Like, there's too much lore. And like, again, do you want everything you know to be coming from one pipeline? That's crazy behavior. And I think fandom really breeds crazy behavior too. So there's been some of that. It's so interesting. Like, think of it this way. Think of a celebrity. I will not name one. Maybe I will. That in like your parents' lifetime was a completely different type of celebrity. Michael Jackson. In my parents' lifetime, he was a superstar. He was selling bajillions of records. People loved him. In my lifetime, he was a joke. And then he was a lot of other things. Like, one generation of people, you know, the thing that has changed is that fandom and like cynicism about fandom has been so prevalent because people are coming up and they're like, why would I want to engage in this? It's all CEO driven, market share, bad storytelling. And that sometimes is true, but it's not always true. And the reason that I think it's important is because if you're only engaging with stuff, number one, that is telling you you need to improve or change, stop. Stop doing that. Look at me. You are great. I'm so fucking for real right now. The self-improvement and the optimization is over. We're done with that now. We are great. We need to put on our boots now. We need to be able to tap into whatever made us nerds when we were children or today. And we need to remember how those stories made us feel. And I think that's like what's cool about the Superman movie. People are remembering how some of this fan stuff makes them feel. I saw an edit that was like, you know, really got me. And all it said was, you need to nerd out. And then it had music. And it was just shots of dorky stuff that people get really passionate about. Amazing. That is my favorite type of person. That is my favorite type of person to be. Think of Jonathan Bailey. You're welcome. I love to bring him into anything, to be honest with you. He's an incredibly multifaceted, talented, charming, successful individual, and he's a complete nerd. He's so into the things he's so into, and as a result, he's been able to have, like, a cool, interesting career where he does things like play the clarinet on the soundtrack of the blockbuster film he's now starring in. I mean, even the guy who plays Superman, he's, like, a huge Star Wars nerd. And I think putting that back, like, front and center again might be good. It might help to, again, like, galvanize people who, at their core, are such good people and are able to, like, really make an impact in the world. Like, there's enough of us, and I've seen us at work. I've seen cool, like, fundraising. I've seen really cool make-a-wish type stuff come out of, like, nerd communities. I've seen things that have been in direct response to, like, various tragedies, um, sponsored by fandoms in a community that, like, believe in the thing that the fandom rallies around, which is good guys, which is, like, positive outcomes and sort of the fantasy that someone is coming. And in the meantime, we all matter as individuals and we can, like, do our part. I think that's, like, where I want to leave it. Just please remember that plot-based media is not something you can opt out of. It's something that's going to, like, turn you into a weird psycho robot if you're not engaging in storytelling. It is how our brains process things. It is important. You need to be able to see characters that look like you or look nothing like you and figure out where you fit into that so that in the real world, when that happens to you, you don't short circuit. It's like a practice run. I really will never stop singing the praises. So go see a movie, read a book, do anything in the fictional world because the real one is rough and you need, number one, a break, and you need to practice your empathy. But don't forget that you're just, like, really, you're great. You can put aside the self-help, I promise. And go see Superman.